How's it going, everybody? The Dominion Series' second major has concluded this weekend, and I want to take this opportunity to talk about For Honor as a spectator esport. Seems like a weird term, but I hope it makes sense. I've given feedback in regard to production, format and all that, but this time I want to look at it from a slightly different angle. I'll probably try and draw a lot of parallels to other esport titles or sports in general. Oftentimes, we get hung up on our game being smaller, but that doesn't mean that different principles apply. It's no secret that For Honor's competitive scene isn't looked at with the same admiration than in many other games. This has multiple reasons which I don't really want to get into too much, especially since I'd ruffle quite a few feathers if I did so. So it's not so much about the why, rather than looking at possible approaches to rectify this. Let me ask you something. When looking at a team that is playing in the Dominion series, what do you think that team's goal is, or rather should be? No, it's not winning. A team's first and foremost goal should be to acquire fans. Ideally, you'll translate a fan base into revenue eventually, but we'll get to that in a bit. Winning is a means to an end. Winning is one possible approach to get fans. But let me clarify first, because I said team and not players, because the player's job and goal is to win. They train, they compete, and in an ideal world, they get rewarded with a good placement in the tournament. This is why sports clubs and bigger esports teams have managers and a support staff. They handle everything outside the game. They promote their players, they set up interviews and other public appearances that allow them to present said players in a different light. Make them more approachable, more likable, or make them out as the bad boys, whatever they think appeals to the masses. At the moment, in For Honor, we have exactly two teams that are signed by an esports organization. That is Nemesis Esports in Europe and Guidance Gaming in NA. But for all the other teams, both the responsibilities of winning and promoting, that falls on the players. Depending on what you want out of competing, your priorities may lean heavily towards one side of these two aspects. I say it flat out, most completely ignore one of them. What is important to mention here is that esports leagues or tournaments are used as a promotion for the game. They are a marketing tool just as much as new trailers, Twitter memes or whatever else that is used. They just involve the player base a lot more. It is much more interactive, but at the end of the day, they exist to build up hype and excitement for the game itself. Look at it a little bit like movies from a franchise, like The Mandalorian that creates buzz for the rest of the Star Wars shitshow. And in our example here, the teams and the players are a big part of this. These teams are a brand in and of itself, and unlike in traditional sports, where it is very likely that you will just support the team from your hometown, in esports, these teams have a way harder time to get fans. See what I'm getting at here? There are many reasons why you watch a competition of something. I, for example, want to see high-level gameplay. I'm interested in that whole aspect. I don't care so much who is winning. What I enjoy is seeing a high-level understanding of the game and its application. I like the competitive scene as a whole, but no, it doesn't mean I like all the players. Far from it. I do have some that I like way more than others, and there are plenty of them I'd rather see lose. But at the end of the day, what I care about is that I've seen good games. But I am in the minority here, in two aspects actually. Not just that I value gameplay over who's playing. I'm also in a position where I know most of these players. But why would the average viewer care about who wins? They don't have the slightest idea who the fuck is even playing. They don't give a shit who comes out on top at the end because nobody knows who they are. The players should be a huge draw why viewers become fans. Players themselves are a brand, like I said, and brands need to be promoted. And no, I'm not pointing fingers at Ubisoft here. The players or their organizations need to do their jobs. They need to put their names out there. They need to interact with their potential viewers. Your win means very little if nobody cares that you won. And don't get me wrong, we have some great examples of players that do actively promote themselves. Clutchmeister is well known. Barakit has stepped up massively the last year with his YouTube content. And we also have competitors that stream regularly like Toadmine. For scrims to ranked gameplay, you can find that sort of stuff from these players. I will link to multiple channels down below in the description. Look at it from the perspective of a casual viewer that stumbles into a Dominion Series stream. While watching some of these matches, even I had no fucking clue who these players were. Why would someone without any prior knowledge care at all about the outcome? This is exactly why you see comments in Twitch chat like, why isn't Faram playing? He would totally anti-gank those exploiters. You are competing with content creators that have built their image over years. Faram didn't so much tell you how good he is, he more or less let you believe it without correcting you, but in the average player's, aka a potential viewer's mind, this is exactly what has been established. And unless players start to step up, nothing will change. And it should be in all their interest to make it clear that the highest level of gameplay can be found in this tournament, and thus increase the popularity of the Dominion series. I said at the beginning that winning is one possible approach to get fans. I'll give you an example from current StarCraft 2, an esport that has been going for 11 years now and still has a strong competitive scene. There is an NA player called Mechanic. In case you didn't know, NA isn't exactly the strongest region in StarCraft, and Mechanic isn't a top player even in that region. I'd say he's like a third tier player when comparing him with all the top level players. But when that guy plays on stream in a tournament, the chat is exploding because he has a huge fan base. Let me show you a picture why. Exactly, because he appeals to the masses, something that is incredibly hard for players that consider themselves above these plebeians. You need to somehow manage to captivate the attention of the average Joe. In Mechanic's case, if you put Uncle Cletus from Alabama, who is his own cousin, in front of the monitor, even he'd know what to do. USA! USA! There we go, another fan. Your in-game performance can be almost considered negligible in this case. Obviously the man is good enough to qualify in the first place, and if he manages to get an upset win over someone, then all hell breaks loose. It's like TSM winning a single game at Worlds in League of Legends. You don't need to be the best in game to be the player or team with the most fans. But it's imperative to put yourself out there. Well, it depends what you want out of this, I suppose. The big picture is that a tournament series without viewers and fans doesn't have the intended effect on the game that the developer wants to achieve, and the players can do their part in this. Don't be surprised if nobody cares whether you win or not, if you don't market yourself accordingly. What it boils down to is that it is all a big show. Whether you want to be the main character or consider everyone who plays along to just be a puppet is up to you, but the success of a show depends on the actors in it. And for the viewers, you decide. It's up to you how you want to be entertained. Do you want to hear about the storylines between the teams, how there are rivalries, or do you just care about the gameplay? Or maybe it's a mix of both. But if we had teams that are more transparent, more players that would market themselves, then this would also allow Ubisoft or eStars, who are in charge of the production, to package all this and make matches all the more exciting. Because all of a sudden it's not just the prize money on the line, but much more. Viewers want to be entertained. If they can relate to the participants, maybe already know some things about them, then this will further spark their interest. Interest that might result in more for the players as well. Merchandise sales, sponsorship deals, or just a few more viewers on their Twitch or YouTube channel. To sum things up, people need to step up. Pointing fingers and saying that's their job and not mine will do nobody any good. But yeah, that was it. Feel free to share your opinion on what you, as a viewer, would like to see in that regard. I hope the video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Laters, everybody. Who denied the revive there? Setmix.
Setmix, did he deny it? Did he just like...
No, he denied the revive.
No, he didn't know that he went
I
from
mean,
like
that's fair. It's lost that matches.